Football isn't just a sport. It's a global passion that can unite hundreds of thousands in one stadium. Today, we count down the 20 football matches that drew the biggest live crowds in history. Let's see which game tops the list. 20. Barcelona versus Juventus, 1986. In 1986, 110,000 fans filled Camp Nou as Barcelona faced Juventus in the European Cup quarterfinal. It was a battle of European giants in one of football's most iconic stadiums. 19. Rangers versus Celtic, 1939. The Old Firm Derby in 1939 attracted 118,567 fans to Ibrox Stadium. This remains the highest recorded attendance for a Scottish League match. 18. Real Madrid versus Eintracht Frankfurt, 1960. The 1960 European Cup final at Hampden Park saw 127,621 fans witness Real Madrid's famous 7-3 victory over Eintracht Frankfurt, a performance still talked about today. 17. Portugal 20 versus Brazil. The 1991 U20 World Cup final in Lisbon drew around 127,000 supporters, proving youth tournaments can pull massive crowds when the stakes are high. 16. Celtic versus Leeds United. In the European Cup semi-final second leg, over 136,000 fans filled Hampden Park as Celtic faced Leeds, creating an unforgettable atmosphere. 15. East Bengal versus Mohun Bagan, 1997. India's fiercest rivalry brought 134,000 fans to Salt Lake Stadium in 1997. The Kolkata Derby remains one of the biggest domestic football spectacles in Asia. 14. Benfica versus Porto, 1987. The 1987 O Clásico between Benfica and Porto drew around 135,000 fans, showcasing Portugal's deep love for its domestic league. 13. Celtic versus Aberdeen, 1937. The 1937 Scottish Cup final brought 147,365 fans to Hampden Park, a record for a domestic cup final in Europe. 12. Scotland versus England, 1937. A week earlier, 149,547 supporters watched Scotland defeat England in the British Home Championship, a legendary international crowd. 11. North Korea versus South Korea, 1990, Mayday Stadium. In a politically charged friendly, 150,000 fans gathered in Pyongyang's Mayday Stadium to watch North Korea host South Korea. 10. Persib versus PSMS, 1985. The Indonesian Perserikatan final drew 150,000 supporters to Senayan Stadium, making it one of the biggest domestic match attendances in Asia. 9. Brazil versus Yugoslavia, 1950. In the 1950 World Cup, 152,429 fans gathered in Maracana to watch Brazil take on Yugoslavia in the group stage. 8. Brazil versus Sweden, 1950, Maracana. Just days later, Brazil's clash with Sweden drew another massive crowd of nearly 159,000 in the same tournament. 7. Brazil versus Spain, 1950, Maracana. Brazil's match against Spain in the final group stage of the 1950 World Cup drew over 162,000 fans, a sea of yellow and green. 6. Flamengo versus Santos. In the 1983 Brazilian Serie A, Flamengo versus Santos drew 165,523 spectators, one of the largest domestic club crowds in history. 5. Real Madrid versus AC Milan, 1956. In the European Cup semi-final, almost 190,000 packed Santiago Bernabeu to see Real Madrid take on AC Milan. 4. Real Madrid versus Juventus, 1962. Another huge European night in Madrid, saw 190,000 fans witness Real Madrid versus Juventus in 1962. 3. Salt Lake Stadium Final, 1997. Back to India, Salt Lake Stadium hosted 191,781 fans in its domestic final in 1997, highlighting Kolkata's unmatched football culture. 2. Scotland versus England, 1937. Reiterating the second place, Scotland's 3-1 win over England before nearly 193,000 fans held its legendary status among European football crowds. 1. Brazil versus Uruguay, 1950. And once again, the 1950 World Cup final takes the crown. 194,850 officially, possibly more. The largest recorded football crowd ever. These matches weren't just games. They were historic gatherings of passion, culture, and football. Which of these massive crowds would you have loved to experience live? Let us know in the comments.